What it do, y'all, and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I wanted to bring you guys a video that quite a few of you guys have asked about, and that is kind of my favorite single eyeshadows for like a one eyeshadow look. Now I'm gonna preface this video by saying a couple of things. One, I typically do not do literally one shadow on my eyes and go. That's just not my cup of tea personally. But what I do tend to do is do maybe 1 to 2 eyeshadows mattes in the crease, and then maybe one shadow on the lid, and then I'll do maybe something similar to today where I have a couple of shades in the outer V to deepen out that outer V. I have one shade all throughout the crease and on the lid, and then I have a different shade in the inner corner. Something to that effect. That's typically my one shadow type of look. So take these opinions and these recommendations with a little bit of salt if you are somebody who literally does one shadow, very similar to like Lauren May Beauty. I personally right now don't think that aesthetic works for me. I just find that I can see this. I just don't like that aesthetic on me. Okay, I think it's beautiful on other people. It just doesn't seem to work for me and what I am envisioning it looking like on my skin tone. But hey, who knows, maybe I still have just not found the right shadow for that. But these are 10 shadows that I currently reach for when it comes to, or 10 products that I will reach for with that particular aesthetic in mind. Not pull any of my cream shadow sticks, which I do use those from time to time, even some of the newer palettes that I've been using as well. So if you want a part 2, part 3, all of that, definitely let me know down below. I have quite a few products, and I think the key is really knowing the type of product that you want. But let me stop talking. Let's get into the video. So, depending on the type of color that you're looking for and the type of aesthetic that you're looking for, I think you can really find similar shades already in your collection. So once again, take these recommendations with a grain of salt and see if it's really necessary for your collection. A lot of these I can find very similar colors in 10,000 other of my eyeshadow palettes that I have in my collection. It's just that right now I've been gravitating towards these because they are, in some form or reason in my head, I associate them with these looks. Okay, I'm gonna stop rambling. We're gonna dive on in. Let's start off with the more palettes, and then we will conclude with like more of the one product that gives you one color. I hope that makes sense. So one of the earliest palettes that I can remember bringing into my collection that kind of fits this aesthetic for me is the Rowan 1111 quad. Now this quad was something that I was able to pick up very, very affordable on, I want to say, a BoxyCharm sale that I was just given access to that 1 month. And what I will do is I will do a brown crease with a palette that I will be talking about in just a second, and then I will reach for this more greeny toned color. Now, something to know about this particular quad is that it does not set down, so you really need to be aware of that and okay with it. It is all shimmer as well, and they're creams, so definitely there's quite a bit to kind of understand and to be okay with this palette. Now what I will say is that this shade is quite icy on me, but there's just something about the cream texture that I find that even because it's icy and even though it just doesn't look as harsh as it could. Now what I find is that if I pack this on too much, I don't really like the look overall. I tend to prefer to blend this out and make it look a little bit kind of sparse in the eye look, if not just dotting it in that inner corner, once again with the palette that I will be talking about in just a second. And that's when I really, really love that particular shade. Like I said, it's like a greeny mink color that does have some cooler tone shimmer in it. It's like blue, purple and some maybe light gold in there as well. It's a very unique shade, and I truly reach for this palette for this one shade. Even though they have warmer tones, for some reason my brain associates when I want a one and done shadow, I reach for that. I think it's because this one is a little bit more subtle. It's the darker of all of these, and what I like to do personally when I'm doing my one shadow looks is I like to go for shades that are very similar to my skin depth, so it kind of blends in a little bit. And that's kind of a tip that I would give you if you're having difficulty finding shades in your collection or just getting that aesthetic that you want. Maybe start with shades that are in your depth of your skin tone, but maybe just a different color. So like, even though this is similar to the depth of my skin tone, it's like a minky color, and so as you can see, it kind of blends in with my hand and with my skin tone unless I move my hand in a particular direction. And that's what I like for my more one and done looks personally. Now, just because I'm talking about it, I will go with this next. This is the palette that at the beginning, for a very long time, this was my one and done palette. I reached for this time and time again, and this is the Give Rich Girl quad. Now for me, this quad is perfect. I don't need anything else. I can create a full one and done eyeshadow look with this. So what I will do is I will take this in my outer V, and this is in the shade, I don't know what these shades are. I don't know. I can't tell. Anyways, this dark brown shade, I will put that in my outer V and I will blend it out. Then I will take this shade, and this will be the shade that I do a very light blend of my outer V shade with this darker one. And then I press my whole lid with this particular shade. Now, even though they look drastically different in pan, on my skin tone, it's not that big of a difference. This one is pretty much my skin tone, slightly deeper and slightly warmer. So I get a little bit of a nuance there in that outer V. And then this, I feel like, warms up a little bit with my primer and then just how I apply it, where it just blends beautifully into this. So this is a very seamless blendable look. And then what I will do is I will take this lighter kind of shimmer. It's not really a shimmer. I don't even know what to call it. I would say it's more of a satin, to be honest. And I put that in my inner corner and I'm in heaven. In full on heaven. Sometimes I'll go for the darker one, but I find that that one's just a little too dark and it just doesn't work. This one has just the right amount of highlighty look where it just it brightens up that inner eye area, very similar to what I did today with the matte eyeshadow. And I can actually show you guys that palette in the end if I can remember. But this was my one and done eyeshadow look. I went for this time and time again. And so this duo right here, if I have a shimmer that I want to use and I don't know a matte, this is typically on my desk right here, and so I will just reach for these two, build out my crease, and then I will go. And so like I said, for that shimmer that I swatched, that shimmer will go with these two mattes. I'm in heaven. Personally, I am in heaven. Once again, find shades that are basically your skin tone, slightly off in some way that you think helps to illuminate you, especially like if you know your undertones, work with that knowledge and you will find some really solid picks. So the other four palettes, I don't know the order I brought them in, so I'm just going to talk about them. I recently did a little quick tutorial with this baby as well. This is something that I got for free, and this is the Biba like micro mini or something, I don't know, trio. I think this is great. So this is, I would say, very similar depth level to the dark shade in Give. Is it? Yeah, it's a pretty similar depth level of the Give one. This one I would just say is not as warm as the Give one. So keep that in mind if you have one and you don't have another. Maybe you don't need both. I just happen to get them both from shopping. So this one, once again, I put in that outer V and I will blend it. And I also do everything that I do on my top lash on my bottom lower lash as well, just so that you know. Then just similar to what the second matte I do in the Give, this shade will lightly blend out this darker one, and then mainly I put it to pack on my actual lid, and then this one goes in my inner corner. So when I travel and I don't feel like doing eyeshadow, or I'm traveling with somebody who doesn't care about makeup, or genuinely I'm just traveling, because when I'm traveling I really don't do a lot of makeup, this is perfect for me. It's small, it's concise, it has all that I need for eyeshadow, and I can just go about my day. So this is definitely something. I will say this is quite bright and lightening. Let me show you guys this. It is quite light, but because it's not like a true metallic, it's more, once again, of that satin type formula. I find that I can blend it easily with my skin tone, and it doesn't look as harsh as it could. And that's another tip that I will say. Let me just swatch this one that I use from the Give so that you guys can see that as well. A tip that I would say is that if you're having difficulty with the shimmer in your look, find something that is not so metallic. I find that these more satin kind of basic shadows or shimmers that we don't really like for, like, you know, getting beat, are perfect for an everyday look. You can see all of these, although somewhat reflective, are not ones that I would say are like groundbreaking, jaw-dropping reflective that you would stop somebody in traffic for. You know what I mean? These are just ones that kind of just blend into my skin tone. You can see the shine, but you can't really see it, and you can go about your day. The last kind of truly brown palette that I want to highlight is actually the Makeup by Mario Ethereal palette. Like I said in my video showcasing all of the new palettes that I brought in 2023, this really creeped up there. At the beginning, I did not like this palette. I thought that this was a waste of money, to be quite honest, but this has definitely grown as one of those palettes that I can reach for without having to think. I get a beautiful one and done or one shadow eye look, and I just love it. So what I do traditionally is, once again, I start with my deep shade down here. I definitely wish that this was darker. It looks darker than some of these other shadows, but I would say it's the same as them, if not a little bit lighter. So I definitely wish that this was darker. Then what I'll do sometimes is blend it out with this one. I generally don't need to, but you know, I have some fun sometimes. And then this is my shimmer. Now, something different that I do with this palette is I will take this shade, like I said, Outer V, and then I will take this lighter brown and do it blending out the darker one, and of course setting that whole lid. Then what I will do is take this darker metallic, which traditionally I would not reach for on these types of looks, and I will lightly pat it all throughout the lid. So I'm kind of mixing these two products on the lid, and then that's when I reach for one of these more sparkly toned shimmers. Now these are quite more reflective than what I will show you guys in the other shadows that I typically use for these one shadow looks, but I find that it has enough shimmer that it brings something unique to my kind of one shadow collection, if you will. But it also, it's just, I like it. So these are kind of what I would reach for this palette on the days where I want to do a one shadow look, but I don't want it to be so everyday normal. I want it to be a little bit more something. Then I will reach for this because of these. So let me swatch. I'm gonna just swatch the two that I've gotten the most use out of shimmer wise in this palette. So it is this one, which is the more basic metallic, and then it is this one right here. So let's showcase these. So this is the brown, and as you can see, it's dark. It's pretty dark, but I can blend it out and it looks really good. If you're somebody who actually likes a legitimate one shadow look, very similar, like I said, to Lauren Mae Beauty, and you're somewhere near my skin tone, this actually could work. It is actually a really, really spot on shade. There is some dimension, which you actually do want in your one shadow, more metallic colors or shimmer colors, because then when you move your head, you do get a little bit of nuance. So I definitely think that that is something there. It's just not a technique that I have really gotten a lot of use out of. But like I said, now swatching, I may actually try that in the future. So let me just give both of those swatches a little bit more love. So again, that's the darker of the two, and this is the lighter. And once again, as you can see, even though that shade is light and quite icy compared to what I actually like, it works. It works. And I find that a lot of these, they work because once again, they're not a straight up metallic or really saturated shimmer, and so you can kind of blend it out and manipulate it to really work on your skin tone or a variety of different skin tones the way you want. So those are all of the kind of more true browns that I have to show you guys that are in palettes. Two more palettes that I want to talk about. One is another palette that I'm sure people did not expect to get as high in my ranking as it did, and this is the Tom Ford Forbidden Pink Quad. Now, as the name suggests, this definitely has more of a pinky hue. I would say it's more on that purple realm of things than pink, but once again, very similar here where I don't have to reach for any other color to get a full kind of single shadow look. This is my outer V shade. I will blend it out with this. This is on my lid. This is my inner corner. This is a very kind of quick, simple quad that I really enjoy. Sometimes I will skip some steps and I will just use these two and maybe just this, or these two and just this. Either way, I like everything about this quad. It really works for me. And yeah, like I said in the video when I was talking about this, do I say you need to run to get it? No, but I got it at a CCO for under 50% off, like a little bit more than 50% off, and so that's why I picked it up. I'd never tried a Tom Ford quad. I was interested. These are a cream to powder matte formula, so if you don't like those types of formulas traditionally, once again, don't recommend. And the shimmers in this palette are very much like a smooth shimmer. It's not fully a metallic. I wouldn't say it's as light as some of these other ones. It's smooth. So let's swatch here and here. So as you can see, the pigmentation level is not the best, and I actually am starting to see some hard pan in the darker of the two, which is not cute. So this one is the one that I would reach for more. So for the lid, and then down here is what I would reach for in the inner corner. I don't even think you guys can even see them. Like I said, they are cream to powder, and I find that a lot of cream to powders just don't do well with swatching because of the oils on your fingers. But I really do like this quad. I would recommend it. I have showcased this quad before, and I will link down below my video where I showcased all of my new palettes for this year, because I did then link in that description box all of the tutorials for each respective palette, and I think I found a tutorial for every last one except for maybe one. So I do a lot of tutorials. Check out my channel in case you're interested. Okay, one last palette and then we can round this video out with the single ones. The one palette that I want to recommend that once again is a little bit more of a wider selection of colors than the Tom Ford, but it's still in the neutral family for me, is the Natasha Denona My Dream palette. This is one of my favorite palettes from her, and I just find that yes, you know, there's a lot going on here, but quite a few of these shades are either very neutral, like in the color, not in the undertone, or they're so close to my skin tone's depth that I can make them look like neutrals on my skin tone. So what I traditionally will do when it comes to this palette is I will start off with Familia, once again in that outer V. It's pretty much my skin tone. There's not a lot of depth really being gained with using that, but then I will blend it out very lightly with Carpe Diem, just to say that I'm blending out a shade. Then to deepen out that outer V, I will use a combination of Aspiration and Blackest Black. Once again, because of the fact that Familia really doesn't give me a lot of depth, but I love the undertone and the tone of that I love coming into this palette. And even though I have to use more shades, I just find that the overall look very much looks like I didn't try, even though I tried. Okay, so we put all of those on there, and then we get to have some fun with the shimmers. Now this palette is an even higher elevation than the Tom Ford, or even not even the Tom Ford, I'm sorry, the Makeup by Mario sparkly shades. You're really going to get some sparkle here with these shimmers metallics, so you need to be willing to kind of have that type of attention. Once again, this is not a palette that I reach for my typical everyday look, but maybe a more elevated version of it. And then what I will do is I will reach in for either Thrill or Vision. Now Vision is what Natasha Denona classifies a multi-chrome, so once again keep that in mind. But I find that her multi-chromes are not so abrupt and apparent as the indie world, and so this is something that I can get away with wearing every day, especially because once again the tone and the depth of this is very similar to my actual skin tone, so it just works. And once again, as I have harped on time and time again, find things that are similar to your skin tone depth and then jump with the colors until you find colors and depth that really work for you. I also think that the Serenity shade is really beautiful as well. Just this palette in general, the depth of it really works for my skin tone, and I find that once again, even though they're not browns, I can still manipulate them to appear on my skin tone as very kind of naturally apparent shades, which I think in the grand scheme of things is what people are looking for when they do these like one shadow looks. 4 single pot products to talk about that are not cream like base shadows. These are kind of, I'm going to put these to be the last part of my look. Okay, so one actually is from Natasha Denona as well. This is a single shadow that somehow I got. This is from the Glam palette, and this is called Shade Outer Eyelid 321M. So she considers this a metallic, and this shade is similar to the one of the very first shades that I swatched, which is the Rowan Quad 1111. So I'm gonna swatch it actually right next to it so you guys can see. This is what I would say the Rowan 1111 Quad is, but just in a powder form, especially without the shimmer. This does not have nearly as much shimmer. It's there, but it's not as much. So if you're somebody who you like the color, you like the idea of the Rowan 1111 Quad shade, but you just don't like the fact that it does not set, if you can find the shade either in this single compact or if you already have the Glam palette, I definitely recommend it. It's one of those shades, once again, that I will reach for to finish off my look once I've already put the 2 shades from the Give Beauty Quad on. This is definitely it. And once again, the next 3 that I'm going to be talking about, I pretty much exclusively use with the Give Quad. So if I'm using that Give Quad and I put those 2 first matte shades down, and then I ultimately want some actual color, some actual shine, or something different than the shimmer in that quad, I will reach for these last 4, especially if I don't feel like leaving this desk to get something. So first, of course, like I said, is that Outer Eyelid 321M shade, and all of these will be listed and linked down below in case I say them weirdly, because I do tend to mix up some things sometimes when I'm talking. So one thing from KVD, she has quite a bit of these dazzle sticks. Now, the brand recently relaunched these, and I picked up 2 shades. The one that I prefer to use on like an everyday basis is this Electric Bolt 2.0 shade. Now it looks a bit much in the packaging, and I will say once again, this is one of those I want to really be fancy type shades because it can show out. So let me do a slight swatch here. So once again, this has a, where is it? There it is. It has a warm base to it, but the shimmer is quite cool tone. And on my skin tone, it kind of has, if you are an OG to YouTube, you've heard of ColourPop's Glass Bowl. I think it's Bull. So you know what I'm talking about. It's like a better version of the MAC Blue Brown product. This is what I find works for my skin tone. And the key to these products is not putting too much on. I find that if you put too much on, it's too opaque and it just really doesn't work for like a single shadow eye look type of vibe. You have to really blend this out. But once you put enough on your lid, it does have like a cool type of sensation on application. But once you blend it out, I think it's fine. I did not find that this gave any like weird creasing or anything like that. I had no problems with this setting down, and I really like these. Like I said, I have two. I think I picked them both up at Ulta, so that's where I would recommend you pick them up. I just love Ulta personally, but yeah, really, really good product. And another kind of very reminiscent color to that. Once again, you'll see very similar colors in all of these. It's from About Face. So this is in the shade Fracture. And I have to see if I have space on my arm to showcase this. We'll put it right there. Okay, so Fracture, and this is an eye paint. So you do get a wand, and the key about this product, in my opinion, is that you get some wiggle room time and you can really build this up, blend this out. This is one of the best shades for my skin tone. It pretty much looks like the base is my skin tone, and so I can really blend this out. This is another color that I should really retry doing, quite literally just one shade on my eye without a matte or anything, because I think it's so close to my skin tone that it just works. Once again, it is right here, and I'm sure you can only just see sparkle, if that. It is so beautiful, and the beauty about this one is this is all warm sparkles, warm shimmers. So I find that it actually really works with my undertone too. It doesn't seem too jarring like some of these more minky type colors can be. Although there's nothing wrong with the minky colors. I do wear them. That's why I'm showcasing them in the video. Sometimes I find that they may not work for like my really warm yellow based lipsticks, right? So that's where you really have to know what you're looking for. You really have to know your undertones, all of that, to get the best product for you. The last product I want to talk about today is from Kofi. So I showcased this and I've really, really enjoyed this. This is one of their eyeshadows, their Zari eyeshadows in Bronze Brocade. Now, this is one of those shades that I think is just, it's just a really good product, and I knew it as soon as I tried it, and it's pretty much been on this desk waiting and being used time and time again. Now, this is a very unique bronze. It's a warmer bronze. I would say, to me, it looks more coppery on my skin than bronze, because there's definitely a warmth to this that I don't find that normal bronze shades have. But I just think that this is a really, really good product. Once again, it does dry down, which I appreciate. And because it has that warm base, I find that blending this in with my Give works beautifully. Once again, there is some shimmer to this, so you do get like a slightly more elevated single shadow look in the grand scheme of things. Once again, another one that I really need to kind of test out again now that I feel like I've gotten the hang of finding the right colors, to see if that is one that I would feel okay with generally just blending into my crease for my lid. But yeah, this is just an outstanding color. Once again, very similar to my skin tone. And it really just rounds up my one tip that I've been hammering home throughout this video. Really start off with what your skin tone is, what your depth is, and then knowing your undertone, you can really find some fantastic single shadows, or just, you know, palettes or grouping of shadows that you can use to create very seamless, very quick, and kind of natural looking eyeshadows that, you know, yeah, you can tell that you're wearing eyeshadow, but it's not so apparent that it's going to be attracting attention if you don't want to attract attention, or even if you wear it light enough, people might not know that you're even wearing eyeshadow. Let me get the eyeshadow palette that I'm wearing today, because I said I was going to, and I actually remembered for once. Okay, so my eyeshadow for today is actually the Danessa Myricks Groundwork Defining Neutrals palette, and I'm really enjoying this palette. Now, I will say there are quite a few shades that I have just not touched. None of these and this have I touched, mainly because they're cooler in nature, and I'm just really vibing with the warm undertoned neutrals. But I have used this shade. This is actually the shade that is in my inner corner right now, and I did stick with just the powders today because I previously used this quite often with their creams and the mattes, but I wanted to try with my eyeshadow primer and then just the mattes, and then I want to do another day with my eyeshadow primer and just the creams. I just want to do a little bit more experimenting. But I will say the powders today, they definitely have some kick up, so do be mindful of that, but they blended beautifully on my normal eyeshadow primer, and that's all you can ask for. So yeah, I think once again this is another one where you can easily get a one shadow look if you just want a straight up matte look. I've now given you guys so many recommendations, only 10, but I feel like I've given you so much more material to kind of branch off from. You have different perspectives on if you want just a normal matte look like I've been doing lately, if you want to add the splash of shimmer in the inner corner. Once again, I've done quite a few videos like that. I also have given you recommendations for particular shades that could potentially be just straight up metallic shades on your eye if that is your boat, or that floats your boat, whatever you like to say. But yeah, I hope that all of these recommendations are helpful. Let me know down below if you want, like I said, another part. I have so many shadows and I'm willing to use my products to give you guys more knowledge if that is helpful. And hopefully I can continue to find more products that I can continue to do new versions of this video as more brands come out with more colors, and potentially I pick up more shades from different brands. And yeah, like I said, I would love to hear down below from you guys whether there's anything that you would recommend. Please let down below be the community sound off board, so that if there's something that I don't know about and you guys know, I know there's some beautiful shades from like Hourglass and other really cool brands that I just haven't gotten to. So sound off down below. I'm gonna stop talking so that I can film some more tonight. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.